Okay, the beginning of the big rig migraine. So, Autocar Dump Truck. We've seen several guys in the community build this truck here. Um, and it has its challenges. We know these kits have their challenges and stuff. So, uh, I'm really hoping that nothing is an actual surprise. I did kind of go through this last night and just sort of look over everything, and then I know other guys have mentioned this, but it finally sunk into my thick skull that there are no part numbers on the bits. These are all what we see in the little black circles. Those are the procedural steps, not really part numbers. There's no diagram in the instructions with part numbers. On some of the older kits that I've built, there was sort of like a diagram on the instructions that had part numbers. They had like the pictures of all the trees. What we see on the bottom of the modern kits, the bottom of the box has that kind of parts layout and stuff. Nothing has any part numbers on it at all. So we're going to have to go very, very slowly and make absolutely certain that everything that we pick off of a tree is going to be that exact part that we need. So that's going to slow us down a little bit, but who knows? Maybe the good thing that comes from all that is that we don't have any mistakes since we're not flying through stuff. Also, we were very excited to see that the decal sheet, which we hadn't opened before, we just opened that last night, has the Universal Construction Vehicle decals for the doors, and that's exactly how we're building this rig. So we're going to be doing it up in camel yellow, which is the signature color for Universal Construction Vehicles here at my house anyways. And then while we were poking through stuff, we kind of discovered something I hadn't noticed before. There are two different sizes of tires. There's a wider, I guess, is a high flotation front tire, and then 8 more of the narrow tires for the rear. The chrome looks like it's in pretty decent shape. And then I just love the fact that on these modern rig kits, they give us a couple of trees of some really nice looking transparent pieces there. And let's see. So the cab, when we open up these kits, the first thing we look at is the cab. How did that survive manufacturing process, packaging, shipping, being on a store shelf, and being in the stash? And this guy here looks like it's doing pretty well. Doesn't look warped or bent or anything, so that's nice. We also took out the transparent piece because we're going to slice that off of this tree here post haste and do some test fitting, see how that fits inside. And it's got sunroof. So we're going to test that out, see how that all fits before we even start putting paint or primer on anything. We did go through the parts trees last night, just looking around to see if there's anything that's going to be of a concern. And there is, got a whisker on that one. Huge slabs of styrene here. Let's get down to the gritty nitty down here. Of course, it's the bottom one, right? Everything wants to hold hands. There we go. So our frame rails they look like skis. They're a little bent. They kind of bow out at the ends. So a little bit warped. But this is pretty thin stuff. So I think with the building process, if we just go along and do a really good job, we could probably glue everything together and get that all straightened out nicely. So there's hope for that. And then I do like the fact that the wheels are nice and chunky. That's kind of nice. And I haven't decided. I don't know if I want to do yellow wheels on the truck to go with the color scheme, or just do some nice black wheels on there. Not 100% sure on that yet. We'll see how that goes. I do know I want to do the frame in black though, so I have that sorted out. So there we go. There's the beginning of the big rigs. Okay, all right, cool. So it's been a while. I'm thinking it's been almost 2 hours, and we have the block built and sanded and all that stuff. We have the transmission built, and what's kind of funny about the transmission is I believe this is how it goes. That this rear plate here, there's no direct picture of that on the instructions to let you know how to actually put that on there. And it's supposed to be keyed, but you can put it on there either way, and it's kind of annoying. So to the closest that I can figure, it looked like it went on there like that, so that's what we did. If it's wrong, oh well, but it is what it is. So there's that, and then here's all of the little engine bits and stuff. We have those all cleaned up. We have a couple of tiny little sub-assemblies, like, I'm just gonna fall over, like the oil cooler according to the instructions. Got this done, which looks like a hell of a spray can, type of thing, like a spray gun. I got the alternator onto this pulley assembly here. I figured that would fit pretty good. And then we have a few, so it just does not like to focus on this, a few things here and there that we've gone through and modified a little bit, like this thing. Apparently this has this little nubby on the back there, and that's supposed to go into that hole there. But when you do that, the side of this that faces the engine block is so thick that it doesn't want to sit flush against it. So we filed that down so that it fits better against the engine block here. And this is something that's always killed me about this particular engine, is these oil filters. Now, they're designed to go on there at a bit of an angle, kind of like that, like some sort of buck tooth type of thing going on there. There's no the instructions don't show us exactly where to put it. There's not much on here that gives us a clue of where that's supposed to attach. So it's pretty much like that looks great, type of thing. So we're gonna have to mount the engine block in the frame, see where we have clearance, and then go ahead and mount that up there. So yay, that's awesome. There are some parts that we don't use, which is kind of fascinating. They tell us at the very beginning of the instructions to take these parts off because we're not going to use them. And I was a little disappointed because that's the entire turbocharger system. So I was like, oh, well, that sucks. All right. But yeah, I mean, it's fitting together really nicely. Most of the stuff's fitting together really nicely. We did have a horrible issue with the top of the block here. We had to file the whole thing smooth because it was misaligned. Everything else was fitting just fine, but the top of it was misaligned at the top. And yeah, it had a little bit of a step in it. So these little plates up here were fitting on there really tipped, really crooked. So they are supposed to be at a little bit of an angle. I mean, that's how they're molded. They actually have a little bit of a wedge molded to them. And yeah, so we had to do that. I got to take out the rear seam here still, but otherwise that's cool. We got the assembly of the wheels figured out, and I do like the fact that they give us a high flotation front tire. That's really cool. It's one of the reasons why they ask us to pitch these beauty rings here, because we're using a much deeper rim on the front wheels. So that's really cool. I like that, and I wish more of these truck kits had that kind of a thing. But we were just noticing in the instructions here for step 3, it says here, cement all cross members to left frame rail. That's interesting. They want us to do all the assembly to one side, and then yeah, maybe it will help line things up better or whatever. Oh, something else that I like. I don't know if the other kits have done this, but the ones I've built in the past don't really have this, but they show you which ones they want you to take off of there for this particular build. So that's actually kind of cool. So far so good. Just lots of cleanup. The seam work isn't too bad, and I mean, it comes right off there. We're using from Squadron, which is no longer around anymore, but this scraper guy here to take off the seams. A couple swipes with that and everything's just fine. And the glass does fit in the cab perfectly, which I don't have sitting here because I put it back in the bag, but the glass fits inside there perfectly, and I think we're all ready to rock and roll. All right, take a break. Right, so spent all last evening working on the frame. I mocked up every single cross member that's supposed to be in there. We have those. Oops, I'm off camera. Sorry, I have mocked up every single cross member that's supposed to go through there, and did some taping. There's leftover tape there. Taped it all together. Got an idea of where stuff's supposed to go and how, and then I started working on the front fenders. Now, the brackets for the fenders are supposed to be attached to the frame, but I had questions about how the fenders are going to look because on other big rig kits I've done, either it was a cab over, so there was no fender, or it was a kit that had the front fenders molded into the hood, so because of the Ford flip deal. So didn't really have an issue with that. So I wanted to see how this is going to go together. I decided to put the braces in place and then glue them to the fender. Hopefully, when it comes time to actually put the fenders on, we'll be able to fudge them and everything. It just didn't seem like it was going to be a good idea to put these on later on in the build. I thought that would be kind of a cool idea to do this now. I do know that there's supposed to be a control rod or some sort of deal for the steering to go through this little loop right here in the bracket. And I'm aware that that's going to be happening, so we're planning for it. It looks like something that just kind of attaches and can hopefully go as a last minute type of deal. So I'm pretty confident that that's not going to be horrible. But what I am excited about is the fact that our frame rails are starting to level out a little bit. This one's rocking a little bit still, starting to level out a little bit once we cut them off the trees. And when we were mocking everything up last night, it looked like these are thin enough to kind of conform to the cross members and stuff. And hopefully once we get everything cemented together, it'll be nice and true. So another thing was I didn't want to put these brackets on right away because if we do have to do some sort of jig work in order to square everything up, these guys are going to get in the way or be broken off easily, some jazz like that, and I didn't want to have to deal with that. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at right now. We're hoping to get on with some more framework here. I'm also considering jumping ahead in the instructions to this part here and building up the box, specifically because when it comes time to cement the frame together and everything, the box will be a cool thing to have to help make sure everything is square and true and stuff like that. So no surprises. All right, so that's the plan for today.